General Secretary of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. His comrade Lenin Chisarira. He's based here in Harare. He's the Deputy Secretary for Political Education. Call him our Deputy Political Commissar. On my right is Comrade Trust Mkwanazi. He's based in Bulawayo. He's our National Organizing Secretary. I'm currently based in Johannesburg. Before we get to our press statement, I came here in Harare wearing two hats. The second hat is the one that I'm wearing here as the General Secretary of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. But yesterday I was in Harare wearing my hat as the chairperson of the Zimbabwe community in South Africa. We had the occasion to meet with the Minister Ignatius Chombo, the Minister of Home Affairs, in his capacity as the Minister of Home Affairs, to discuss the documentation project of Zimbabwe in South Africa. You will know that in 2010, the South African government offered the Zimbabweans that was staying in that country special permits. These permits were renewed in 2014 and they are to expire at the end of this year, 31st December 2017. The South African cabinet approved the redocumentation of Zimbabweans. As you would know, the conditions that were placed on those permits in 20 was that the permits will not be renewed. And the changing of those permits, the conditions, whether we are transferring to another permit were to be done in South Africa. So after the South African cabinet then approved the redocumentation of Zimbabweans and awaiting the South African Minister of Home Affairs to inform us of the process and the conditions that will be attached to these permits, and also to consider whether the South African government will be able to document some Zimbabweans that missed out in 2010 or those that have moved to South Africa after the issuing of the 2010 permits. It was on this basis that we had to meet Minister Chombo, because the South African government will not issue to Zimbabweans without consulting the Zimbabwean government. So with a progressive meeting with the Minister Chombo, we understood our position that the permits should be renewed. He informed us that we'll be traveling next week to South Africa to meet his South African counterpart to further discuss these issues. That's the first thing that brought us to Harare. The second, now my cap, why we are here as the Zimbabwe Communist Party, we have a statement that we prepared, which I will go through the statement and then will afford you the opportunity to engage on the two issues. First, on the issue of the Zimbabwe Communist Party, and if there are others that have questions on the permits, will be free also to engage. On the 3rd May 2017, a day after the International Workers' Day, we announced the launch of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. Following our underground founding conference outside Bulawayo, we held an underground conference because there were challenges in getting it cleared, because every time we wanted to hold our activities that were not registered in Zimbabwe. The formation of the Zimbabwe Communist Party was the coming together of the Zimbabwe Communist Group, which I led as the General Secretary, and the Zimbabwe Communist League. The Zimbabwe Communist Party is a Marxist-Leninist political party whose vision is to build a socialist Zimbabwe. Ours is a strike against our old enemies: capitalism, imperialism, and the black bourgeoisie, which continues to loot our resources. The development of capitalism in our country from 1890. But we know that capitalism developed through cheap labor, created mainly black proletariat, as the white and later black bourgeoisies could not survive without the proletariat. The bourgeoisies will never survive without the proletariat, but the proletariat will survive without the bourgeoisie. That's the point we're making. The struggle against colonialism and imperialism was not only the struggle for national liberation, but a class struggle to build a society free of exploitation. Upon attaining independence in 1980, the new political leadership became the economic managers of those who owned the means of production. Basically, the cabinet, they became of the owners of the means of production who were playing Kolfinlanda. Nothing was done to transform the commanding heights of the economy of society as a whole. While we recognize the social programs done in the first decade of our independence, that is to say, the building of health infrastructure, education, the roads, and so forth, the economy remained in the hands of the very few, even though our political leadership shouted socialist slogans. Some of you will recall the socialist songs that were sung during the liberation struggle soon after independence. As we approach the 2018 elections, we have the view that the upcoming elections will not resolve the economic, social, and political challenges. The immediate challenge faced by the working class and peasants in Zimbabwe is lack of political freedom and a failure to access money from the banks. It can't be correct that the people spend long hours in the banks queuing for money, which they will not have access to. The people need economic empowerment, democracy, and quality education, access to housing, access to clean water, particularly in this city, Harare. Most of you here, I believe, you don't drink water from the taps. While we as a party support progressive forces who call for the implementation of the 2013 Constitution, are called for a national dialogue of anti-capitalists to resolve the economic and the political crisis, as this will not be resolved through a contested election in 2018. Our call for the national dialogue is on the realization that the working class and peasants are divided along in the opposition. The working class in its broad sense, talking about those who are gainfully employed. We're talking of those, everyone that is active in the economy, be they in the informal sector, as 94% of the working people are in the informal sector. We define those. Our vanguard role is to unite, advance, defend, and depend the struggle of the working class and the peasants. The national dialogue we are calling as communists, still progressive politics among ourselves as the citizens and residents. A progressive citizen will not support dictatorship, operate with imperialist forces in seeking regime change, but rather a progressive citizen will mobilize society in advancing, defending, and deepening the struggle of the working class and the peasants. A progressive citizen will reject parasitic tendencies. The looting of our diamonds in Marange, the looting of our money in the Reserve Bank, of assets in state entities is unpatriotic. A progressive citizen must be driven by great feeling of love for the people of Zimbabwe. As the Zimbabwe Communist Party, we will engage progressive civil society, churches, political parties, trade unions, students, women's organizations, rural organizations, residents associations, progressive Zimbabwean to support the call for this national dialogue. The national dialogue must adopt a clear economic program as we seek to rebuild our economy. As the 2018 elections approach, P and progressive allies will come up with a clear position on the duty of a progressive citizen in that national context. Viva socialism, viva. Thank you so much. We are ready to take questions if there are questions.
Everything has been well understood.
Yeah. Okay, my question to you is, you have said that the elections will not solve the current crisis in Zimbabwe. So what is your view with regard to the coalition and the unity amongst the other political players?
If the agenda is to remove an individual, the opposition ought to coalesce. If the agenda is to remove an individual. But the opposition is, this is not the first time that the opposition is coming together. In 2000, we were the united opposition. We won 57 seats out of 63. We know how those elections in 2000 were contested. Same in 2005, in March, because the split that happened in the MDC happened in October. Again, the 2002 elections were held under united opposition. They were fiercely contested. So this historical background says to us that the elections, while in a democratic society, you must have elections so that those that are in parliament or councils have the mandate from the people, because that's the purpose of an election. But in our situation, we don't believe that an election will resolve that we're facing as a country. But we'll all agree that in 2007, you could not buy anything from the shops. There was basically nothing. We were sleeping in queues, queuing for fuel, which was not there. But the coming together of the parties represented in Parliament in February 2009 to 2013 made it possible, firstly, for us to use what we now call the foreign currency regime. Were able to import the fuel. There was some kind of normality, even though there was no production. After the inclusive government, things went bad. And today we're sitting here, there's no money in the banks. So there must be a national dialogue in promoting what one would call national interest, as opposed to narrow party political interest. The point we're making in our statement is that as the vanguard of the working class, we recognize the fact that
we know that design preparation is decimated industry. Intense capitalization to rebuild industry so that workers can then pay for it. Now, how is it that the Zimbabwe Communist Party, knowing that communism is dying all over the world, we know that it is an agent of oppression in Venezuela. It is also, encouraging, the central states and so forth. And of course, in Cuba, we know the history. How is the Zimbabwe Communist Party, going to ensure that there is going to be regeneration of the industry without using capital, since you are saying that you are anti-capitalism?
Firstly, thanks for the question. We have produced our quarterly magazine, Quality Vanguard. It's available online. We will some here, I'm sure you have gone through our magazine, where one of the things that we are raising in that magazine is of the agriculture in Cuba, organic agriculture. You know that over 50 years, Cuba has been under sanctions from her neighbor, the United States. You will know the point that you are also raising in our economic document, which is a draft, is that from 1965, when Ian Smith unilaterally declared independence in this country, up to 1980, the Rhodesian economy was sound. Though that economy was racialized, it excluded the majority of the black people. We are saying, even though Smith there was war, it was during the liberation struggle and so forth, under sanctions, but the economy was sound. We are saying we need an economy that is inclusive. And we are saying, when in our slogan, socialism is the future. We are not saying, assuming the Communist Party were to come to power today, you need to build socialist blocks, what we call socialist blocks. Not simply throw a remote control and say today is socialism. What we stand opposed to is the exploitation of man by man. We've never said, this is why we talk even of cooperatives, this is why we even talk of workers' committees in industries. The question is, who owns that industry? We are not anti-industrialization, but who benefits from that industry? That's the issue, and we are raising that in our document. So we are saying, assuming the Communist Party were to come into power, we believe that the first 10 years will be dedicated in rebuilding our industries. Have our young people at the workplace. We are even talking of making proposals around the ownership of property in terms of the industries. But you need, therefore, to go through this phase. At the end, ultimately, the working class and peasants must own the means of production.
So you need capitalists to rebuild our industry.
Industries cannot only be built by capitalists. That's the point.
But workers cannot build industry without an injection of capital. Workers are part of the matrix of the balance of the economic action.
What we are saying, Mr. Ngwen, you have state entities. We have the land. We have our minerals. We are against the parasites who are looting our resources. And we are saying we have enough resources to cater for every Zimbabwean. And we are saying we need to engage investors. This is what we are saying in our document, our economic document. as we build these socialist blocks. As I have said, that socialism is not an event, it's a process.
What we're saying is that, like the General Secretary has just said, Zimbabwe has got enough land. If we can have all our people on that land productively, not just putting small structures, not only having that land being owned by people who do not want to work on it. We can build our own Zimbabwean capital to create the society that we want, not the capitalists.
But our land was productive until Mugabe violated private property rights. We're a grain exporting country, and because of Mugabe's, crude socialist policies of command systems, he then violated private property rights, and now we're reduced into being beggars. How does the
I will answer that way. Mugabe, to me, they are pseudo socialists. They were never. They wanted to be like the masters that we removed during the liberation struggle. They never cared about the real people. We are saying we need a new dispensation where we really care. The people who are saying the people must own the processes of this country, not the people who only want to remove those who are in power so that they can wear those jackets. That's our difference.
Maybe we need to explain how we characterize our struggle and what we mean. In the last 18 years, what we've witnessed is the struggle against the imperialist forces and the parasitic bourgeoisie. ZANU-PF has never been socialist in current. It is a reactionary liberation movement. Contesting or engaging in struggle against the imperialists, not on behalf of society as a whole, but seeking to replace the imperialists that have been looting our resources, for them to be the new looters. They are not the comprando bourgeoisie because they've been dumped by their masters. They were the comprando after independence. They were never socialists. The comprando, this is why in our statement we were saying they became managers on behalf of those that owned the means of production. Comprando bourgeoisie. But today you can't define ZANU-PF as comprando bourgeoisie. They are not. They have been dumped by their masters. They are parasites. Our resources is between themselves as the imperialists is to loot who will loot it better our resources. This is why we are then therefore saying this national dialogue that we are talking about must therefore begin to promote what one would call progressive politics. To say we're in a country today where 94% of the people of Zimbabwe are in the informal sector. We have no access to monies in our banks. We have no clean drinking water in Harare, produce in the villages. How then do we resolve this national crisis? An election, in a well-considered view, will not resolve this. Come 2018, there's going to be a contest around whether the election was fair and fair, the BRV system, wara, and so forth. And nothing will be resolved. But we need to come together as Zimbabweans and say, what is it that we ought to do in our economy to ensure that our young people don't, earlier on I was talking about the payments. We do not want to have our citizens permanently in foreign lands. We have a beautiful country. And the resources are enough for all of us as Zimbabweans. That's the point we are making.
Maybe if you could have other questions.
Okay, can you give us the organogram of your party?
Of our party.
Yes.
Maybe you can share it later on.
Because that will probably inform the next question. So this is why I'm saying.
What would be the next? Can you ask the next question in the absence of? Like I said, I'm the leader of the party.
Basically,
Yeah, because you're saying you're the Secretary General.
General Secretary.
General Secretary.
Yeah.
General Secretary. General Secretary.
Just give us in brief. I think it would be good for you just give us the background, just in brief.
We have myself as the leader of the party, General Secretary. We have comrades in Harare. Comrade Gifting, Comrade Lenny is here. We have comrades in Bulawayo, Comrade Iskuni, Comrade Corners, Comrade Iskuni being our chairperson. Comrades in Dare, we have comrades in Mashona in the West. We have comrades in Mashona in Central. We are beating in Maswingo. We have not made any breakthrough in Mashona in the East. We are still beating.
And with structures in countries like South Africa, where the majority of our people have gone, with structures in South Africa, we've had structures in the diaspora as well.
And at this stage, we are busy building our provincial steering committees throughout the provinces. That's our major task right now. From there, we'll do our district steering committees, then going down. From there, then build our structures heading towards our Congress, which we expect in about 2 years' time.
That's the question.
This brings me to the issue of elections. So you're saying elections will not resolve the crisis that's not facing the country. So it means we're not going to see the Zimbabwe Communist Party participating in those elections come 2018.
No, we are not going to field the candidates in 2018 elections. It's another question. Because if you support another candidate that is participating on its own, you'll know that in Southern Africa, communists have always been in alliances. The South African Communist Party in alliance with the ANC, Communist Party of Swaziland is in alliance with the People. Our conditions are different. We are an independent political formation. We are not yet in an alliance with any other political formation. Our task is to unite the working class. Therefore, it means our key constituency is organized labor, those in the informal sector. So we have not taken a decision. We have taken a decision going to field the candidates, but we will take a decision later on who to support in the 2018 elections. Because we are not here to call for an election boycott. We will not call our members not to participate in the electoral process. It is key that people participate. But the point that we are making, as we have made it before, is that the election itself will not resolve the crisis that we find ourselves in. So this is why all of us, including yourselves as the media, we must promote this call of a national dialogue. Not just a national dialogue, but a dialogue that advances us. It appears you have a question. In the absence of questions, thank you so much for taking your time off to come and engage with our steps. We appreciate, we hope we continuously meet as we build this national dialogue that we're talking about. And we believe that the media will